Can you hear me, James?
Yes, I can hear you clearly. Perfect.
Yeah, yeah. Hello, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to the Global Internship Insight Series 2025. We are excited to have everyone here. A big round of applause to the African Students Network for organizing this amazing program. Um, this is James. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is the third edition, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yes.
third edition. I'm right. So, it's been a long way coming, and we've had success stories from people that have been part of this program, been learned from the speakers that we've invited in the past, and some people that were here have gone on to get opportunities for themselves. So it's a very very exciting program for everyone that is here. For those live streaming, I recommend you take out your notes, take and note things down. There's a lot of information and value that will be shared today. So pay very, very good attention. And a very, very, very big thank you to our speakers that are here today, Angel, Joseph, and Shadi. We say very, very, very big welcome to everyone. And yes, let me do a bit of introduction about myself, then I'll pass over to James. My name is Martin Sajakaye. I presently work as a data analyst at Bloomberg here in the City of London. I work in a team known as earnings extraction. So what we are doing is extracting at the lowest latency company key performance indicators. Like if you think about a company, speak about their revenue, their cost of goods sold, and very, very important performance indicators, which they report on a quarterly basis. Sometimes they report sales releases. So I sit in the data team that works with engineering and product and even Bloomberg News to extract those information at the lowest latency. So 3 seconds would be slow for us, so it's milliseconds latency. So it's a very, very exciting opportunity, and I've been here for about a year plus now. My free time, I enjoy cycling, suddenly gotten back to my interest in music. So I did a summer school at Imperial on the guitar specifically. Very, very exciting. And yeah, that's it about me. I'll pass over to James.
Yeah, hi everyone. Yeah, my name is James. Yeah, thanks for joining, guys. And we are not the speakers. We're just hosting the speakers, to be fair. Yeah, my name is James. I basically do one or two things with ASN, kind of like creating strategy for us to be able to like help as much African students to kind of like navigate their paths central to like career development, leadership, and very soon entrepreneurship. And I work with a global investment banking firm in the global market division, and basically at the intersection of like market data and basically how to leverage this market data to kind of like help the business make certain profits as much as possible and to improve and build systems that support like trading and sales. And yeah, I'm super excited to be here. And I'm looking forward to like you guys getting maximum benefit from the speakers that we have lined up. And yeah, so over to you back, Martins.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for the introduction. It's nice to learn about you again in the presence of everyone. Yeah, so I think we can go ahead and introduce our speakers. Um, for today, we'll be having Angel Umba, Joseph, Alika, Shade Uluyede. And yeah, I'd like our speakers to introduce themselves to us. Let us get to know them, not just, career and university and things like that, but what do you enjoy doing in your free time? So we'd like to know you. So Angel, would like you to go first.
Okay. Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Angel Lupa. I did a summer internship with the Bank of America in the technology division, global market technology to be precise. What do I like to do in my spare time? I like to watch movies and read books like novels. So that's about it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. What kind of movies do you like, Angel?
Anything with a good storyline, honestly, except horror. I don't like horror.
You don't like? Okay. Okay. We'll get to that later. Thank you very much for introducing yourself. If you can put
Thank
on
you.
your camera, really appreciate that. I got a feedback one time that, speaking to someone behind the screen and you can see their face, it enables the conversation to be much more free flowing and you can feel a sense of connection. So if you can, absolutely, please turn on your camera. Thank you. And we'll be moving over to Joseph. Joseph, please can you do a bit of introduction? Let us get to know you.
Okay. Yeah. Hi, my name is Joseph. I'm just rounding up a production engineering internship at Meta. And in my free time, I like listening to music a lot, and I recently started learning how to play the bass guitar. So,
That's
yeah.
nice. That's interesting.
And I'm a student at the University of Ibadan.
Oh, nice, nice. That's good. I'm learning how to play the lead guitar. I'll go 1 year around. In fact, yeah.
This background is weird.
Thank you very much, Joseph. And finally, over to Shadi. Shadi, let's get to meet you. Tell us a bit about yourself. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Oluwatobi Oloyede, but I'd rather be called Shadi. I I did my internship at Goldman Sachs in London under the engineering department. I worked in risk engineering, and in my spare time, I do a lot of things. To be honest, like I enjoy doing a lot of things, but mostly listening to music, taking a walk. What else? I love to read and watch movies too, and probably cycle. Yeah, I cycle a lot too. So
Oh,
yeah.
that's nice. That's nice. Cycling sounds very exciting. That's good. That's good. Thank you very much for the introduction. It's nice to meet everyone once again. Yeah, we'll pass now to James.
Yeah, thank you very much, Martin. It's good to have every one of you here, Angel, Joseph, and Shadi. And we're looking forward to like a very interesting and fruitful conversation. And basically, like it's not like an interview, just to yeah, just to hear you guys' experience and get like the audience to ask as much question as possible. But before we go into that, I would just like to share a little bit of snippet about ASN and what we do at ASN. Basically, ASN is a child organization under AE Africa, which is Emerge Youth Innovation Initiative. And basically, we've been around for like 2 year plus. And our vision is basically to stimulate like young people, youth, and students to be able to access opportunities central to like their career aspiration, support that journey in creating that gap from confusion to clarity, and at the same time being a bridge whereby students can have like a platform for them to like lead and build solution for global and continental relevance. I tend to put it as globalization, in the sense that we are looking forward to absorbing a couple of global concepts and adapting them into our local context for continental impact. That's like the future of ASN, but we have to start from somewhere, right? And that is why we're doing all this at African Student Network, which is like the child organization of AE Africa. And basically, this is one of our, I don't know, like our outspring there, where we basically get students that have done certain things central to career, central to like their learning, and kind of like spotlight them for them to be a source of inspiration and hope for other students to kind of like navigate their path. And the Global Internship Insight Series, this is the 3rd year we're running this, or the 3rd edition we're running, which is basically to bring students from different like corporate organization. This year we have lineup central to like consulting, tech, global markets, investment banking, payments, risk, and a couple of other tracks, operations, and a couple of other tracks like that, in order to stimulate conversation so that each and every student out there, each and every young person out there can see some sort of like possibility around accessing some of these local and global opportunities. So we also have a couple of other programs like the one that is going to happening in October/November, which is the ASAP program. We call it ASAP, but it's short form of the longer form, which is African Student Accelerator Program, where we basically select very few students that have like this energy for growth, that are hungry for more, to get them to kind of like incubate them for like 6 to 7 weeks. They work on like a startup project, they work on like a real thing, and they get to learn from like 5 to 6 speakers for like 6 to 7 weeks, and they apply what they've learned on a real project, and that basically scales as an like a experience for them that they can put on their resume in order for them to access like other opportunities that they want. More so, it's more like a clarity bootcamp or like a clarity accelerator program where they move from like, I don't know what to do, I think this is what I want to do, to some sort of like a degree of certainty around what they want to do. So we basically accelerate that pipeline of understanding to give them that leverage that they would naturally like need for where they want to be. And we also have a couple of other programs like the MIIS, which you guys must have seen at one point or the other, which is the Monthly Industry Insight Series, or like the MWS, which is the monthly webinar series. We have like, if you check our YouTube, we have like a playlist. I think we've organized more than 15 to 20 of them, or even more than that over the years. Martins Wazier spoke exhaustively around the world of data and the diverse opportunity. Like, I strongly recommend, when people tell me they want to get into data, I just copy and paste the link for them, right? Because it was an exhaustive session. We've had session around fintech, we've had session around like finance, we've had session, like name it, whatever it is you are looking for. We've had like an industry session around it. We've had like the ASAP for last year, everything was recorded. And we just keep putting this out there in order to spark like each and every one of us, like as young people, as youth, as students, for us to navigate our paths to the place we want to be. And I'm really excited that a lot of you guys are here, and I really want you to see it like as a good platform for growth. Like Joseph was probably somewhere in the audience last year, and I don't know how many sessions he attended. I don't know how many things he's listened to, maybe like some things from like ASN, some things from other places. We shared his story at some point, and he was able to basically like coordinate some of this instruction, this information, and he got himself into Meta. He did the hard work, and I'm super proud of him being here to share his vast array of experience with you guys, and you guys can basically like glean one or two things in order to navigate your path also. So yeah, we're going to be sharing our social media link. We're almost 2,000 followers on LinkedIn. We're on Twitter, X now. We're on YouTube. Like, I don't understand. We have very crazy views on YouTube, but we don't have followers. Like, it looks counterintuitive to me. People get to listen to the content, but like, what does it take to like subscribe, right? So we want to get that subscription up to like 1K during this GIS period. We want to get to 2K on LinkedIn. We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, and as the session goes on, I'm just going to put that in the chat box. And yeah, I look forward to us having an interesting session today. And I'll just hand over to Martins as we navigate our path from here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for that very, very broad explanation of what the Imagine Youth Initiative is all about. It's something that, is transforming the landscape, because the thing about it is that I like the word localization, because not all global solutions can be imported and dumped. Some needs to be tweaked. We see, I don't want to go too deep into it, but we've seen an example of like the Asian tigers, of how they've sort of taken those global globalization, the trends, technology, and they sort of adapted it to their local economy, and they're thriving now. The Asian tigers are a formidable force in the world, and it was not the same 40 years ago, 40, 50 years ago. Nobody was paying attention, but things have changed, and that is some of the things that we're looking to achieve at AU Africa. Yeah, thank you very much for that. So we'll get right to business, and we will start kicking with asking questions, because we want to get as much information as possible. from everyone here. And the very first question I want to ask is that, like, how did you discover these internship opportunities? Like, where did you find it? Were you randomly scrolling on your phone one night and like, I found this opportunity, let me apply for it? For everyone on the call, just where did you, I mean, for speakers specifically, how did you come across this opportunity? And Joseph, if you can go first.
Okay, so I actually got it from the official careers website for the for Meta. That was where I saw it. It was actually a friend that told me that the role had been opened.
That's good. Thank you very much. How about you, Angel?
For me, I had a cousin that did his internship with Goldman Sachs, and so I just looked for other companies that were, doing the same internship, and then I found Bank of America. So that's how I discovered mine.
That's good. That's good. How about you, Shadi?
Yeah, I guess it's very popular in Unilag to know about this opportunity. Like a lot of people had gotten it, a lot of seniors had gotten it, even my classmates had gotten it. So just something I knew about from people around me and in school. So it was something I was looking out for, obviously, and
Paying attention.
applied. Yeah.
Exactly. So there's some intentionality in that. I think the thing I can glean from all of this is that there's some intentionality. It's like you're paying attention, trying to watch. So for everyone here, it's good to pay attention because I know now that the opportunities have opened up again. So for anyone that hasn't been able to search through, if one thing you do at the end of the session is to go and search for these opportunities because they are open. We'll get back to that later, but they are open. And the follow-up question I'd like to ask is that after you found this opportunity, what were the specific steps that you take that you took rather to prepare for the application? And because when you submit, I know sometimes you get an assessment, then after an assessment, you do a super day, and then maybe some manager interview. I don't want to go into the details about the steps. I don't know very, very specifically what they are for each and every one of you, but how did you prepare for this application? Of course, for you to get it, you did not just blindly apply and get it. What were the steps you took in preparing for the application? So I like us to be pragmatic in our response. So it's a step by step and everyone can follow through. So Angel, I would like you to go first. What were the steps, the specific steps you took to prepare for the application?
Firstly, I tried to prepare my CV, like to tailor it to the application. And then when I tried to apply, I didn't apply with the right CV, so it got rejected basically. And then I went back and reached out to people on LinkedIn that did the same internship or similar internships to review my CV, and he pointed out what was wrong, and I had them review my whole application, and that's what I was doing for like every stage of the application process. Just having people look at what I'm doing and like trying to get help and insights from different people.
That's good. Thank you. Thank you very much. And how about you, Joseph?
Yeah, what I did was you're talking about before the application, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I updated my resume. I first of all learned a bit more about the role because my role is not actually software engineering, it's production engineering, which is kind of like Meta's version of site reliability engineering. So I had to like learn a bit more about the role and then update my resume accordingly.
Yeah, thank you. And Shade, was it the same for you?
Yeah, pretty much the same. Updated my CV, wrote my cover letter, and ran it through a couple of people that had gotten the internship before, and then kind of prepared for the assessments, at least first stage of it.
Yeah, we'll go into the details of that, of the assessment, because we want all of the details so that everyone else can, can take advantage of that. So yes, thank you very much. One thing I have, a few things rather that I've gotten from all of this is that preparing your CV is very, very important, tailoring it to the application, not just submitting a random CV. Also getting help, checking with people, getting feedback, very, very important, and tailoring that, your experience, and ensuring that you research the role, like don't just blindly apply. Make sure you understand what it is, because that understanding will make you tailor all your applications, right? It will ensure that if you are preparing your CV is tailored to the role. And that brings me to even the next question, right? Like, how did you tailor your CV and your cover letter? What does tailoring mean in this instance? How did you adapt your CV? What are some specific CV tips that you would give to anyone applying for this role? Oh, don't use, don't put a summary, add a summary. What are the things you did rather to tailor your CV for the application? So Joseph, I'd like you to go first.
Okay. I think first of all, like I said, it was a production engineering role. So I tried to include more of the low level projects that I had done, not just the web based ones, because I thought that that would be more likely to catch their interest. Then for my work experience, this is a general thing, but I think it's a common mistake to have overlapping work experience that doesn't seem too realistic for a student, because I mean, in the Nigerian context, if you're freelancing or something, I mean, it's kind of common to be working while you're in school, right? But if they like see that you have too many, if you have any overlapping experience at all, or if they feel that your experience is not reasonable for what a student should have, it could be seen as a red flag.
Hmm.
So it's something to be mindful of.
Hmm.
Yeah. I'd say because I had applied to a bunch of places. I think I applied to Goldman Sachs actually before and was rejected, and I have a high suspicion that that was the reason,
Hmm.
because I didn't even get the online assessments.
Hmm. Interesting, interesting. So it's important that your experiences, you tailor them. And by tailoring here, you mean that, don't have too much overlapping experience. Because as a student, why do you have 3 years experience applying for an internship, right? Maybe for graduate roles, maybe is useful, right? But if you're applying and you have 3 years, you're working, it might seem to you that, oh, that shows that you've been working at, but it's an internship anyways. You might just think that, oh, this guy. And it's also important. I also like the first part you mentioned, that you ensure that the experiences that you listed there, the projects that you worked on, were very, very related to what your role is. So if you're applying for a software engineering internship, for example, right, you need to ensure that you're not speaking just about your finance experience, even if you have a finance experience. You are highlighting, oh, you were part of this hackathon, you built this, you built that. And yeah, so that's something to keep in mind. Over to you, Shade. What were some things that you did in your CV that you're like, these things did make me stand out?
I guess you have to keep in mind that the company is looking for like specific skills, and at first, like you're going to have like a, what do you call it, like an AI stuff screening your resume and looking out for keywords. So you need to know how to use keywords and properly articulate your experiences to fit what they want. So I guess for me, one thing I did was that I realized that when I checked the resumes of people who had gotten these opportunities before. They specifically mentioned the programming language they had used in their bullet points. I believe I'm speaking to like a tech audience.
Yeah.
So specifically mentioned specific programming languages that they used, because like certain teams use certain programming languages. So like if like you have if you have used a programming language in one of your experiences or one of your projects, and they say that, oh, this person actually uses this programming language, as opposed to just having it in skills. You know, you can actually just put your programming language in skills, as opposed to like putting it in, like actually having it as a bullet point in your resume. That's something that actually also works, because they say that, oh, you have used this, so you can use it, so you can basically work with it. That's one point. Number two is, like I said, properly articulating your experiences. I feel like this is where a lot of people get lost. They don't know how to, I don't know how to put it. We're all packaging ourselves. Let's be serious. We're all packaging ourselves. And so now you need to know how to like put down your experiences in a way that captures their attention. So you do something like, let's say, create a website. You want to talk about like, oh, I created this particular component and this was the impact of it. And you want to talk about, oh, I like, there are certain keywords that I also look at, like scaled, deployed, like tests, like those are the particular specific work you'll be doing when you are working with them. So like they want to see things like this basically, and usually they will have it in their job description, like you say somebody that can tell, somebody that can use this programming languages, blah 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 blah. Just like go over their job description and try to articulate your experiences to follow what they have, or something that you feel like if somebody reads the job description and reads your resume, they'll say, oh, this person actually fits for this. I don't know how to explain that any further, but like try as much as possible to articulate your skills. And in other case, just ask people who have gotten it for their resumes. Usually you just see how they have written theirs and you can follow that structure. That was exactly what I did. I just got somebody's resume and I basically I did copy exactly what they wrote though. Obviously, I'm going to be having my own skills there, but like I articulated it the way they did theirs, and that kind of worked. Another thing I did was your resume is for bragging. I promise you, like the people that are applying are serious people, like you're not here to joke. So if you have any achievements that is not tech related or that can show that you are a serious person, because obviously, let me tell you, at GS they constantly remind, GS is Goldman Sachs. They constantly remind us that it is not just your technical skills that got you here. We also want somebody that is hardworking, somebody that is able to communicate, somebody that is able, like, they also look out for your soft skills. So if you have other achievements or if you have other skills that demonstrate these aspects, these abilities, add it to your CV. So for example, I added my extracurricular stuff, like I lead a particular community in my school. I put the team together, I organized, I led. So these are also things to look out for. And if you won hackathons, put it there, brag. Like your resume is for bragging. You want to show yourself and you want to like scream about yourself, because like I said, other people apply for the same role and they are not there to joke. So you too try to brag as much as possible on your resume. That's what I can say.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that, Shadi. That was very, very, very packed. Very, very packed. A lot to unpack there. Shadi, I just wanted to ask you follow up, and also maybe Joseph and Angel, can the ASN team reach out to all three and we can sort of create a model CV? I know we already have one in ASN, but a technology model CV that if people can say, oh, this is good, and everyone can sort of use that as a standard to model their CV. And if you're happy on that, we can hide maybe very sensitive details, but if we combine those three and we can have a very, very good model CV that we can share. So this is why you need to be a member of the ASN community, because there's no way you would get that just on the call. So click the link in the chat box, ensure that you follow on LinkedIn, join the WhatsApp community, subscribe, and you'll be able to access this resource down the line. But yes, thank you very much. Keywords. That's the thing to pay attention to there. Keywords. Ensure that when you are reading the job description, you're not just reading it, but you're also extracting those information and tailoring your CV using those specific keywords. Thank you very much. Put your hackathons too, put your experience, put your leadership experience too. Yeah, finally, Angel, what else do you think is very, very important? I helped you in tailoring your CV. And yeah, how can everyone else here learn from that?
Okay, so for the CV, I had a template. So it's the same thing, trying to build your CV based on someone else's CV that has gotten the internship. That's what I did. And if you read through the job description and because there's a possibility you might not tick all the boxes they're listing there, you could just pick one. It might be the skill set one and the communication one, and really emphasize that in your CV. So put all your projects there, even if they're personal projects. I think that's one thing that works for me because I did have experience, but not a lot of experience. So I put the experience I had, but then I also supported it with my projects, personal projects I had worked on, and also my volunteering with school societies and things like that. And also, if you're an academic person, you could also put your academic achievements there, that kind of thing. So that's it for me, adding other parts of yourself in your CV. And I think you also say something about the cover letters. Is that correct? Or is
Yeah,
that a different question?
no, it's part of it.
Okay, so your CV is like very formal, and you have to stick to a particular script, but with your cover letters you can put in your personality. For me, I was saying, oh, I liked how the company was very people oriented, and it's not something you really see here in Nigeria, and they really care about, when you go to the bank, a Nigerian bank, the customer care is very funny. So I kind of built on that, oh, I like how they're very particular about individuals, and they want to serve their customers better, and that. And I would love to be a part of that kind of organization. So just try and connect yourself with the story you're writing as of why you want to be there, and then talk about maybe a project you built and the challenges you faced, and just build on that. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much. Very, very good. Tailor your story. I liked your unique experiences. Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much for that, Angel. So I'll pass it over now to James.
Yeah, thank you very much, Martins. I think I was having so much fun. I feel like an applicant. Yeah, so yeah, just a question, just like buttress a little bit on that. I think I just want to know, like, what do you guys think are some unique aspect of your background that kind of like, or your experience that you think made you stand out, or like looking back, what do you think was on your resume, your cover letter that you highlighted? Because as much as we know that we are different individuals, like basically because of you attend the same school, because of we have the same interest, maybe there are a couple of, like, I think 70 something people here that are interested in tech, there are some similarities, right? And when people just get that concept, they can model their stuff around that. So what is that, like one or two singular thing that you think made you really stand out in your application generally, even beyond your resume? Yeah, I'll start with, let me take maybe from Angel. Yeah, you can go ahead.
For me, I don't really know what was so unique that made my application stand out. But I do know that my cover letter, the thing I said about thinking my experience with banks here and those ones there,
Mhm.
I feel like that was unique to my person because I really believed what I was writing.
Mhm.
But then the CV, I feel like a CV is very rigid. It's the same thing, different experiences. You're trying to say, oh, you had so percent impact and all of that. You get, I think it's, the CV might be a bit more generic, but I think your personality and you standing out really shows in your cover letter. So I think that's it for me. I think my cover letter was a bit specific to me.
Mm. Yeah, okay, cool. Making your cover letter like unique to your person, and that kind of like makes you stand out ahead of like, I don't know, thousands of resume. Yeah, let me take Joseph. Yeah.
Um, okay, I guess some of the projects that I did kind of helped. The fact that I had, like I said, I had done some projects that were a bit more low level. So, for example, I did a shell, um, an OS shell, and a an interpreter for a language. So those projects kind of helped because it was a production engineering internship. But I'd say in general, if you do a project that's it if you're doing a project, it should either not be something that's common because you don't want them to think you just copied it from a tutorial or something.
Mm,
So it should be either very unique or it should be something that you launched and you had actual users for so that you can kind of justify using it. So even if it's an idea that's not too unique, if like can like state the impact that it had, then that's also good.
mm. Projects. Yeah, I think that's really good. Yeah, something unique and basically stating the impact clearly. Yeah, let me get Shadi's thought on this.
Yeah. And I mean, like when I say unique, it doesn't have to be something too crazy. I mean, we're still students, of course,
Yeah.
but yeah, just something that's not don't put to do app, for example.
Stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I see. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Thank you very much, Joseph. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's quite impressive to see like I don't know, like an undergrad building like a shell and all those kind of stuff. Like it shows how intentional you were about like stacking up your portfolio with good projects. Yeah. So Shadi, yeah, over to you.
I'd say just like Angel, so like tell your story. But first off, make sure that your CV is good because at GS they aside like the AI screening, your CV still goes to like actual desks and humans still go over it and check your skills. So obviously you want it to be great, but also like you have the opportunity to tell your story in your cover letter. And for me personally, my story was just, oh, I've worked in finance in Nigeria and I want to move to the global stage. I want to work in finance, in tech, and software engineer. And so, like, you have your own unique stories. You can just talk about anything, to be honest. Just tell your own story, but make sure that your CV has like very great skills because you can tell the best stories and your CV is not adding up. It's not.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, thank you very much, Shadi. Yeah, so make your CV really good and at the same time, like work on your cover letter. I think the idea that like your CV still goes to like people that get to decide if you join their team or not. I think that's really like good because one of the greatest thing that can be there for you is like you get the internship, but you don't even get like a team that you really like and all that. Yeah, so I think that's really good. I'm just going to move to the next question and we're still going like granular details, right? But like I want to take it a little bit higher. So I don't know. I know that for Meta it's a little bit different for banking and Goldman is different from Bank of America. So can you guys just walk us through like what are the stages? So we've been talking about resume, cover letter. So after resume and cover letter, what happens, right? So what are these different stage and like can maybe you should just touch a little bit on those different stages and we can unpack them later. So I'm just going to maybe start from Joseph here.
Okay. Okay. So first of all, I will talk about the production engineering interview process because that's the one I went through, but I also talk about the software engineering one. So
Mhm.
in general, after you apply, you get an online assessment that's usually for production engineering, it's just a multiple choice questions, right? But based around like OS stuff and networking and that kind of some core concepts. But generally things that you would normally know, then it's not too difficult. So that's the first stage. Okay, does someone have a question?
Yeah,
I
we
will take it as a
after. Yeah, please avoid raising your hand. We have the Q&A open. Just use that for your questions. Solomon, I can see your hand is raised. If you can try, probably lower the hand. So I just think, yeah. Please let's use the Q&A for questions for now. And we're going to have like a 25 or 20 minutes for like questions from the audience. So let's just listen first and we can get on to questions. Sorry for the interruption, Joseph.
Yeah. Okay. So after the online assessment, there's a coding screening interview. So that's just like a regular data structures and algorithms interview with used over a video call. So for Meta, it's usually two problems that they give you. So speed might be an issue. So you'd want to solve it like pretty fast. It's 1 hour in total, but I think you'd want like there's 15 minutes for introducing yourself, talking about your experience, going over your resume basically at the beginning. So you'd want like you'd have like 45 minutes to solve both questions. So you could just put it like 15 minutes, 15 minutes, then some extra miscellaneous time, I guess. Yeah. So for production engineering interviews, I'd say the questions are not I don't think you'd see elite code hard, for example. I don't think
what level
they really set
do you
hard
expect?
questions. Usually like a medium or if you're lucky, an easy problem, maybe.
I think it's very more specific.
Um,
Give him an overview of what
Yeah.
it looks like. Describe the problem set.
let me. I I can't really think of a problem right now, but just basically regular lead code questions that maybe you use two pointers or something, but no graphs. I don't think they set graph problems for production engineering because I'm not sure. Yeah,
Okay.
but basically, I think before the interview, they will actually tell you like they will tell you what topics that they usually set from. So it's not an issue you will know beforehand.
Okay, cool. Joseph, do you
But
get to
yeah,
choose the language you want, or like it's just like they want a particular language for you to like do what you want to do? And is it like pseudo
yeah,
you actually have
you
like
can you use whatever language you want, but you have to write actual code.
okay,
But you're also not going to run the code. So your logic is the most important thing. So yeah, even if your code is technically wrong, I mean, your code shouldn't be wrong, but if your code is wrong, they probably wouldn't know anyway. I mean, if you went through it logically and your logic is actually correct, then it's like small syntax errors in the syntax don't really matter,
Mhm.
and your interviewer will probably just correct you. So it's not too big of a deal.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think you were just going on after the coding test, then
Okay, yes. Yeah, okay. So there's the coding round, then there's a production engineer specific interview, which is to test your like knowledge of like your fundamentals. So like again networking, OS stuff, and in general your understanding of computer systems because production engineering is kind of wide what they expect you to know, but it's also like so it's the way the interview works is it's kind of like a conversation. So they could paint a scenario for you. For example, you notice you'll have a service, right? And you notice that it starts timing out, right? Your request start timing out. So what do you do? That's very open-ended, like it could be anything, right? But you're the one that's going to start like now taking steps. So for example, I'll run this command, then your interviewer will reply, oh, so this is what you notice. right? And then the conversation goes like that. Then they could also ask you to explain how certain things work. For example, like what happens when you type a URL into your browser and press enter. That was actually my interview question. And for each reply you give, so for example, you say, oh, a request is being sent. They could ask like, how is it sent? Then, oh, how do you know, how is the address resolved? Then, oh, what protocol does it use, right? And they will keep on going down until you basically don't know what is happening, I guess. Yeah, so that's how the interview goes.
Okay, so
And yeah, those are the only two interviews. Then after that, you get a there isn't necessarily a recruiter interview. It's more like just to give you the offer after that. So,
okay,
So 2-3 interviews in total.
so two interviews.
Just one. The first one is multiple choice, and the next one
No,
is
okay, three. The first one is like an online assessment. That's not a face-to-face interview. So that's why I didn't count it. But yeah, three stages basically: online assessment, then coding, then the production engineering.
specific
Yeah, for software engineering, it's
software engineer.
starts the same, but I think they have two stages of the coding interview. And I think their coding interviews generally have more topics. So for example, they could set you could very well see lead code ads there, and they will set graph problems and stuff. But I mean, it obviously depends on your luck. You could get easy problems too. So yeah.
I think you're trying to sweeten people up. Like, it might not be very fortunate. Like, to be fair, it's just good to prepare up to, like, I don't know, like fairly asked questions and all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but the process continues similarly for, like, let's say, do they get the multiple choice thing also?
I think their own, I'm not 100% sure, but I think their own online assessment is also a coding round. So also data structures and algorithms.
Okay, cool. Yeah, cool. Thank you very much, Joseph. Yeah, let me just move to Angel on this, then I take Shade last. Yeah. Okay, Angel, yeah, just talk us through like what the interview process is like and like maybe a little bit of sneak peek into like what it entails.
Okay, so for the after the application, that's if you pass the application stage, then you get a higher view interview, which is like pre-recorded questions and you'd give your answers. Most times I think it's tailored to the division you apply to, because I got some technology questions like, oh, because you're in the technology space, how do you keep up to date with the trends and the changing information and things like that? And so that's what the higher view stage is. I think you have 5 questions and you have about 2 minutes to give your answer. I really don't remember, but there are 5 questions. And the first one is the basic tell me about yourself or walk me through your resume, just that kind of tell me about yourself kind of thing, or tell me about a time when you had an issue with a colleague. So it's a mix of behavioral and not so technical questions. And if you get through the higher view stage, then you get an assessment center. So the assessment center is like 3 interviews in one. So the first round is like a behavioral interview, but it's more like a HR interview because you're having the behavioral interview with HR, and then they kind of tell you to walk them through your resume, and then they ask those kind of HR questions. The same thing of tell me about a time when you did this, that, oh, this project on your resume, can you tell me more about it? Tell me something about your communication, things like that. So that's what the first round looks like. And you have all 3 of them like in one sitting, like it's in the same day. And then the next one is a technical interview. And lucky enough, you get to pick what language you want to take the interview in. So I picked Python and they just asked a mix of data structures and algorithms and syntax questions. So they could ask you to tell them how to implement a Lambda function or do this. Just a mix of data structures and syntax questions. It's not anything too difficult, but you have to know the specifics of the language you're interviewing in. Basically, that's it. And I think one thing for that round is you should try to ask your interviewer questions to fully understand the question you're being asked, what you're being asked to implement. But all of this is like you're either writing implementation in a chat box or you're like saying it out. So there's no like thing of running your code, or your logic just has to be right, basically. And then the last one is a presentation of a project you've worked on. I chose a project I did during another internship, which was like a website kind of thing. But it has to be a thorough presentation. Like you're going to prepare the slides and everything. And it's like a thorough presentation from the conception of the project, basically, and your role and, what you learned, things like it just has to be very detailed. And I believe you have 15 minutes for that presentation, and then you have questions and they ask you questions and you can ask your questions too. I think altogether the interview was about 2-3 hours. I really can't remember, sorry, my memory is failing me, but that's it. And after that assessment center, I think you wait like a while, and if you're successful, if the whole application is successful, you get a call from someone in HR, and then your offer gets sent to your email and things like that. So that's how it was for my internship.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, Angel. Sorry, I want to ask one question. I don't know if you can. Do you remember the specific question that you got?
For which one? For like the higher view or
Not
the
technical question.
Okay, the technical questions. I know one was they asked me to implement a function that does. They were not very difficult questions, but see, the thing is, I was supposed to do my internship last year, so I did this interview 2 years ago, so my memory is really hazy. But it was a function to implement something, and he asked me to implement it using a normal function and using a Lambda function.
Okay.
Yes. And then there was another question he asked me, and I have never heard of that function before. He said implement something using, I can't even remember the name of the function today, but I didn't know what it was. And I honestly said, I'm sorry, I don't know what that is. And then I asked him to explain it to me. And we had the whole back and forth of why it should be used and why it shouldn't be used and things like that. So the question really varies. Sometimes I got some difficult ones and some easy ones. There were some things like how to iterate through a list in Python. So those ones were easy, but they were the ones I've never heard of.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much. I'll just probably iterate before Shade takes it on our hand. So 3 interviews after the IRView. So, but this 3 interview happens like the same day, and it's like 2 to 3 hours, maybe 30, 45 minutes each. And the first one was like behavioral with the HR. Second one was like technical, basically like pseudo coding, maybe using like a chat box, or like you're basically just talking to the interviewer about like the logic of the program and justification, question back and forth just to show you understand. And the third one was like preparing like a deck of like a project that you've done. And I really want to touch on that a little bit, right? I don't know. I know like it's been a while, but like what's like a rule of thumb that you're going to give people in terms of like, okay, structure your thoughts when it comes to like presenting your projects? Because some people can just show up and go to the website or like the product they built and they start showing the interviewers, right? So what was your approach to preparing your deck? Maybe you had a problem, the solution. Sometimes you are not the only one that probably built something, right? You worked on it. How do you communicate that effectively with a slide and maximize your time at the same time?
Okay, I think it really depends on the project you decide to showcase. For me, I chose a project that was already in production and was being used by people. So it was something I worked on during my internship. So that project was able to showcase teamwork, relevance in real life and things like that, and also technical ability. So I think the first thing is actually to find a project that can show all of that, and then you just create a very simple presentation but that's still visually appealing. You talk about the problem. First of all, introduce yourself, say what school you're from, things like that. Then you talk about the problem. What problem was this trying to solve? You don't need to show what you built. I didn't need to show what I built. I think I just had like a picture of what it looked like somewhere in my slides as the result of the whole slide. And then you talk about the challenges you faced, what technologies you used, and then the final result, what impact is it having? How many users are using this project you're talking about? Then you also need to touch on teamwork and, communication, things like that. Things that you would see in your job description that you think you should really focus on when you're presenting. I probably made that presentation to someone like 10 times to make sure that I was saying the right things and it was correct and things like that. And I wasn't blabbing on an off topic or things like that. So I think for that presentation part, you really do need to practice, because at some point they were like, because they were asking me questions mid presentation. So the timing wasn't the timing I practiced. And towards the end, they were like, oh, you have a few minutes left and things like that. So you also need to work on the timing. Yeah, so that's it.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Let me just move to Shadi, then I'll hand over back to Martins, right? Because we're pressed for time. Yeah, Shadi, just tell us about like this like process in details, right? Like a little bit of dive into it for Goldman, central to like software engineering or like engineering team generally for interns.
For Goldman, after submitting your application, you get an rank assessment, which is a coding assessment. So you get asked the coding question and you have to provide the solution. It's usually in 3 hours. I think you have 3 hours to complete 2 questions. And the questions are usually like mid-level or simple lead code questions. I don't know if everybody knows what lead code is, but lead code is basically a platform where you get like a lot of software engineering problems and you can solve them. So like we say mid-level, if the question is, it basically tests your data structure knowledge, and it's something that you might not be able to solve. It might not be straightforward to solve, but it's something you can, with a little bit of attempt, you can solve it. So mid-level to easy lead code. And after that, if you pass that stage, or if you pass that stage, you get an higher view, just like Angel described. Gets about 5 questions, behavioral and a bit of technical, and just ask, oh, what would you do in this situation? It's scenario based, or like, what would you do in this situation? How do you communicate? Or what project have you worked on? Give us details, or walk through your CV, those kind of questions. Then when you pass that stage, next stage is the final interview, which constitutes 2 rounds of technical interview. They basically say 2 rounds of technical interview, but it's a mix of technical and behavioral. So for each round, you do a mix of technical and behavioral. Like your interviewer can decide to take it whichever way they want. But for my interview, personally, it was very little behavioral and more technical for both rounds. Basically, like they asked me like 2 behavioral questions and just bombarded me with a lot of technical questions. And I believe it's because of my resume. I feel like my resume was overhyping me, so like they wanted to know what I was saying there. So for the questions, for technical questions, like they are, I don't know, like it varies, it differs. Like different people get different kinds of questions. Some people get very easy questions, some people get like other questions. For me, I had like a data structures and algorithm question, and it was like a mid-level ad question. Sure. But
What was it?
the interviewer made it clear to me that they didn't expect me to complete the question, but they wanted to see my thought process. So obviously, you are not coming in as a senior engineer, so they know that you are coming in as an intern. So they just want to They just want to know your thought process, obviously. So I throughout the interview, I just made sure that I articulated, like I just basically communicated my thought process. My thought process wasn't 100% correct, mind you, but like I was able to like solve the question one way or the other and just write a little bit of code. And then there was like just questions on general software knowledge, and then on questions on my CV. Oh, you said you did this. Explain what you said you did on your CV. So basically, you need to know your CV in and out, because some interviewers will actually like ask you a lot of questions on your CV. And they even went as far as asking me about my school projects, because I said, oh, I studied electrical and electronics engineering, and they're like, okay, tell me about your electrical and electronics engineering projects. For that, it can be anything. There's anything on your CV can you can get a question from anything on your CV, basically. And then my second interview too was just like very technical. It was very technical because obviously like my CV is kind of packed. So I expected that other people, it varies. Other people with like smaller experiences get like a bit of more behavioral than technical. It can be more behavioral, it can be more technical, it can be easy technical, and it can go whichever way. Basically, I feel like they just interview you based on your experience and what they're looking out for, or based on the interviewer's mood, to be honest. Could be anything. But just best thing is to learn your CV and learn like the basic software knowledge, the testing and all of those things, and then a bit of DSA, data
Yeah,
structures and algorithm. That's DSA.
yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, so I don't know, like Martins, before you take over, like I know one commonality between everyone is like, okay, we get this a lot of like coding interviews, right? And like, how did you guys? I feel like people have like different appetites for like, and their strengths are really different. How did you guys like equip yourself in such a way that I know you guys like try to be humble, but the questions were not very difficult. The questions were these, that, right? But like, how did you guys equip yourself to the extent that, okay, maybe some resources that, like, if you are somebody that is interested in this, you should be lead coding like maybe 2 times a day or something, or you should just read this book, like maybe clean code or whatever it is, or like this DSA with Python or whatever it is, and this is going to really help you. Like, what are some resources that you could point us to in maybe 1 or 2 sentences or something that that would really prepare people to a reasonable extent for this interview? Let me just take it from Shade, then Joseph and Angel before Martins continue.
I think for me, when practicing lead code, I use neat code, which is lead code with an N, with the N,
Okay.
actually NEET, then code. So they have neat code has this like neat code 75, or I think it's neat code 150 now. So it's a comprehensive list of questions that help you practice different topics in data structures and algorithm. You basically touch almost every popular data structure and algorithm, and like just and that's sufficient to that's sufficient for any interview or anything or any knowledge you want to build after that. So if you want to become like a lead code pro, start from there. Like just equips you with the basic knowledge, and it's also like prepares you. I feel like it prepares you adequately for any interview. To be honest, like once you're able to get a grasp of all of that. Another resource I used was like past interns. Like I tell you, see, use people. People are like the best resource you can ever use, because like my guys who had gotten Goldman previously, I spoke to them and they like I had mock interviews with them. They shared some of their, am I supposed to say this? But like they shared like, oh, these are the topics I got asked. And I also prepared, I practiced those topics. Like if I hadn't asked them about these topics, I would probably not have practiced these topics. And I got some of those topics during my interview. I'm like, oh, I would have otherwise not practiced this if I didn't speak to them. So like also use people, ask people.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much, Shade. Yeah, Joseph, maybe like some resource, right? And thanks for sharing the neat code link. Yeah.
Okay, I'd also advise you to just use the NEET code list, especially if you don't have enough time. For practicing the problems, though, it's better not to look at the full solution, even if, let's say, you can't solve the problem after you give yourself a time limit, right? After that time limit, don't look at the full solution. He has videos, right? So in his videos, he explains the approach in the first half before he starts writing the code. So at that point, after the first half, you should try writing the code yourself, basically, to see if you actually understood the approach. And that's what will help you actually learn how to solve the problem. And it's very important because in an interview, how you communicate what you're doing is more important than actually solving the problem. If you're able to solve the problem, but you weren't able to understand what your code is doing, then you've already failed the interview, basically. So it's better you're not able to get the solution at first, and maybe with some help from your interviewer, that's when you're able to get it. But you're clearly like explaining what you're doing, like you clearly understand what you're doing. Then also it's a lot of communication, so do a lot of mock interviews, even if it's with your friends. It doesn't have to be one senior engineer that's doing a mock interview with you, but yeah, do mock interviews.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Angel.
Okay, so for the technical round, it was the same thing. I did a lot of lead code using the same lead code list, even though I went a bit outside the list to do more easy problems, just trying to really understand how the whole DSA thing works. So I think doing that, and also when you're done practicing on lead code, also try to practice on HackerRank because they have quite different user interfaces. Well, it was difficult for me to adjust basically, so I'd advise you to practice with HackerRank before your online assessment or technical interview. So that was it for me. But because the technical interview was a bit open, there were not any specific topics because it's not a HackerRank interview. I was just trying to answer questions because I knew I was going to choose my language of interview. So I tried to practice a lot of questions around Python syntax, the difficult questions, the whole object-oriented programming thing, because just all those difficult things that you know would come up in interviews. And then also using YouTube. YouTube is a very good resource. And just try to answer as many language questions as possible. You can search Google, try everywhere, because this one was a bit more open-ended, so I had to answer as many questions as possible. Yeah, so that was it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Martins.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. I have learned a lot of things, Akaran, NEET code 250, NEET code 150. I actually just Googled it right now and checked it because I've heard of NEET code. I've actually heard of NEET code before, but I haven't checked it. Yeah, but these are very, very, very good resources. And this is something that is consistent. Everyone recommends it. So if you are applying for internships, you better get cracking at lead code and try to you can come as a group, a few friends come together and try to pay for the pro subscription if you're like a few friends and you schedule the time where you would have access to it, right? So maybe one person will do the lead code in the morning, and another person do in the afternoon, person do in the evening, string your friends together, prepare. I also learned from all that has been shared that it's important to also have people that you're sharing feedback with. Angel said she prepared for a presentation and she had like maybe 8, 9, 10 reviews. So that's very big. So it's no surprise, right, that she got a role. So it takes a lot of work. So it's something very, very, very important. So yes, we're past the hour now. So we just want to ask a very, very important question now. So now you've gotten the internship, but it doesn't end there, right? After the internship, you want to secure a full-time offer, right? You want them to make that decision. Say, hey, we'd like you to come back and join us on a full-time basis. And my question to everyone on this call is, how did you build meaningful relationship while in the internship? In just relationship are key. How did you build meaningful relationship? And what were some things in terms of the feedback that you got, in terms of your conversation? What were the things that they specifically mentioned and say, hey, we liked what you did here. We liked you stood out for us in this area. So to rephrase my question, what were some specific feedbacks that you got from the internship experience, and how did you sort of build a relationship while on the internship? So yes, Joseph, I'd like you to go first.
Okay. Okay, this is quite a loaded question.
Yeah,
Okay, first of all, how did I build relationships with my teammates and mentor? All that? So I think it's a common thing at Meta to have scheduled one-on-ones with various people. So that's a very good way to build relationships. I mean, like once you're seeing someone face to face and interacting with them face to face, I mean, it's much easier to actually get to know them, right? And these one-on-ones don't have to be about work stuff. You could ask them, just generally get to know them, what's going on in their lives, and how they are finding for example, if they are not be they were not born in London, for instance, like ask them how it was moving here or something. So yeah, for building relationships, that helps because funny enough, I don't no one in my team was actually from the UK. So then
yeah,
you also asked about like feedback that I got during my internship, right?
yeah.
Okay. So one thing that I feedback that I got early on that I made sure to act on is okay, first of all, I'll start by saying that feedback is a superpower basically. So don't be afraid to ask for feedback early on. It's something that, and you also don't have to be afraid of feedback. Like don't mistake feedback for judgment, right? The fact that you're asking for feedback is a good sign because that means you want to grow, right? So, um, some feedback that I got early on was that I waited too long. Like I stayed blocked on some tasks too long without like find reaching out to teammates, right, to unblock myself, right, because I was not obviously not familiar with a lot of the internal systems and all that, right? And even though I'd be able to say get myself unblocked in 1 hour, if I could have like solved that in like 5 or 10 minutes by talking to my teammate that's just beside me, I mean, what's the point? But it's also not good. Like you should have made like some effort to solve a problem yourself before reaching out to a teammate. So the best thing to do is to, depending on the problem at hand, set a time block, right? So it could be 10 minutes or 30 minutes or something, but have a definite time block. And once that time is exhausted, then you reach out to someone and you explain what you've already tried and what you think is the problem, like different options you have or something. Yeah.
I always
And
give feedback, not just improvement. What are some things that are like we like this about you, Joseph?
um okay, so there were so feedback is kind of structured for us because we have like some axis of performance, right? So, for example, there's productivity, there's learning speed, there's communication and collaboration, right? So, in general, like if you're doing well, they're going to tell you, like they're going to, when you ask for feedback in general, the format is you'd go through each axis of performance and they will discuss how you're doing on that axis, right? So if you did well, so for example, I learned um, new languages. I learned Rust for my projects, right? So that was something that they were impressed with because I was able to like get started. I needed to learn it for the project, right? But I was able to do that very quickly and get started on the project fast. And my code quality was also really good. Like I was following the best practices, so that impressed them, right? So, but it's more like they for each so that would, for example, go under learning speed, right? So for each axis of performance, like there would be like feedback that you have, right, on what you're doing well, and if you need to, there's anything you need to improve on.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you. We'll pass over to Shade.
Okay. So generally, where do I even start from? For my communication, I guess how I got to meet a lot of people, just like Joseph mentioned, there's this like culture of having one-on-ones with people in the organization. So for me, I try to like have my lunch break with um other analysts, those are like graduates, joiners, and just have these discussions. And then when I attend like an event, and I just take note of the speaker's name and chat them up on Teams and like schedule a meeting. And then for my team, I make sure like I met everybody on my team at least once, and then subsequently I like will just have these discussions with them about their project, about the team, about like generally like their work at Goldman Sachs. And also like another act for me was like having this informal, joining them in informal gatherings. Like we used to have like after work drinks. You don't have to drink. Let's start from there. You don't have to take alcohol, but just being there, you're able to like interact with them on a more informal level, and that makes them very comfortable with you. Like you're able to like form some sort of friendship, share. And that's very important because your team has to like you for them to want you to come back. And then for my general advice, like going in, please be able to communicate, because I guess this was like one thing that somebody on my team mentioned to me, that you might be like the most technically talented person, but if people do not understand the impact of the work you're doing, or if you're not communicating your impact properly, you do not get visibility. And it is visibility that gets you like that, gets you where you want to be, that gets you the promotion, that gets you more work. So like while you are working, make sure that you're able to communicate with your team, make sure you're able to carry them along, make sure they know the challenges you have solved, because you might be solving very interesting problems and they don't know about it because you basically just did it and they are not aware. So try to carry your team along. And I want to let you know that even though your technical skills might get you in, your soft skills are very, very important. Like that is what will get you far. From what I've noticed, basically in that short period of time, your soft skills takes you further. If you're able to lead, if you're proactive, if you're able to communicate, if you're able to form relationships, if you're able to document, if you're able, like there are so many soft skills that come into play. And if you're able to, like, if you have those soft skills and alongside your technical skills, and I would always say like I always put soft skills over technical skills, because to be honest, if you like the people that lead teams, people that eventually become managers are people that have people that have shown like very strong technical skills. They show that they can bring people together and get things done, as opposed to like writing code. Because like to be honest, anybody can write code. In fact, AI is going to be writing code. AI is going to take over your job soon. No, AI is not going to take over your job. But like writing code is basic skill that anybody can have. But being able to like embody certain attributes that helps you get things done, that helps you carry on, that helps you organize, that helps you manage. Those skills are far more valuable than just technical skills. And then for me, my feedback during my internship was on that communication, like gaining visibility, that I wasn't visible enough. I was doing really interesting stuff, but not enough people knew about it. And my approach to that was I created like a documentation page where I wrote down my progress, my challenges, and I shared it with my team. I scheduled one-on-ones with my manager, and like every other week I spoke to him about like my project. Whenever I hit a milestone, I shared it with my team on like the general team page. I also sent emails to them. I speak to other teammates in other countries because like my team is spread across like different countries, US, we have in India, we also have like all over the world, sure. So like speak to people there, and basically like at the end of my internship, they said, oh, like I generally improved in this particular aspect, which is great. And that one was what Joseph mentioned, that I don't ask questions when I'm stuck. And for me, it was because I was asking questions to another person, to a friend who works in a different city, and I was getting like I was getting help from him. So in this case, what I did was that I started asking my teammates some questions, and if I see that my teammates are unable to solve it, then I ask my friends rather than my friend and my teammates. So generally, please just take the feedback they give you during your internship. If your organization is the type that gives like me internship reviews, and also like you see it from people's body language, people would kind of like tell you like, oh, like something like, oh, why you've been off your desk for so long? You know that they're trying to tell you that, oh, you don't stay on your desk. Like they would, there's like a nudge you can tell. So you just adjust yourself, take feedback, and ask for feedback too, and you do great. To be honest.
Great. Thank you very much for that. So pay attention to the feedback that you receive when you get the internship. It's not enough that you have the internship now. You must ensure that you secure that offer. So, you can come back. So it's not just the internship. So pay attention to the feedback that you receive. Ask questions. I think that's also something generally as Nigerians where we have this thing of, oh, we want to figure things out, and we don't want to make it seem like we don't know what we are doing, right? And how questions has been framed as, oh, if you ask questions, it means you don't know anything about it. But in a different culture, actually, questions actually help you to invite people to feel among. It's not just about asking a question. Because during my internship too, I noticed this. I asked someone on the team question, and they were suddenly very interested in projects. And they were, oh, you do this, oh, you did that, you do this. Oh, what do you think about this? This is my opinion about it. And they kept giving feedback. And that was the way I built the relationship with the person. Such that when I was leaving from the internship, like, oh yeah, take my email, take my cell. When you're back, let me know. So that's something to pay attention to. So thank you very much. And finally, we'll take from Angel. What are some feedback and how did you build that relationship to secure the offer?
Okay, so during my internship, it was a bit different. They weren't like scheduled one-on-ones, but then the way my internship works, you're like assigned to a buddy and a mentor. So I try to use them to extend the relationship. So my buddy knew some people and he would be like, oh, this person is doing great stuff. And I'll just reach out to them using like the company platform. And I'll try to obviously like do some background work and see what they're already doing. So they're like topics for discussion. Most people at my company usually started from like the grad role or from the internship route. So I always used to ask them for advice, what can I do better and things like that. And that really starts the conversation going. So I use my buddy and my mentor to reach out to people and speak to more people, even people outside like my division, because there was this whole thing of trying to understand how the firm in general works, not just technology, like isolating yourself to just technology side of things. And my role was a bit more of the finance side than on the tech side. So I also had to understand. But then the thing you're saying about Nigerians, I knew that I didn't ask a lot of questions naturally as a person. So I tried to ask as many questions as I could to people around me. And then the feedback I got mid into internship was that, oh, I should try and be a bit more independent instead of asking questions. So I think I was doing it a bit too much. So I tried to find a balance later on. So that's it for me. Just try and ask as much questions as you can, but don't do too much. So you could set, I think you would know when you get a problem whether you can figure it out at some point, or if like you really need to ask a question and know where the problem, because in my case I didn't even know where the problem was coming from because the whole system was very unfamiliar. So ask as many questions as possible. And the feedback I got was that I took the mid internship feedback and I was a bit more independent later on. And they also said I wasn't afraid to talk to anybody, which was like me previously asking a lot of questions, because I could literally reach out to anybody in any team as far as they had a relationship with my project to ask them questions, because I had 2 projects, so I was trying to finish up before the end of my internship. So that was how my internship went. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone. This is around
Okay, sorry. I think I have one more thing to add. So I think for me, for at Meta, and I think it's probably like that at other companies, it's not necessarily your team that decides whether you get a return offer as much as it is HR, but your team is the one, like your manager is basically the one that's going to um present your case for you. Let me put it like that, right? But they obviously, so you and your manager is also like their feedback, like also depends on how well you do. So they want you to succeed, basically. They are on your side, if that makes sense. Right?
Yes.
But you also still need to give them something to work with, right? So I think that's an important like thing to note, that you guys are actually on the same team. Like the more impact that you provide, the better for everyone, right? So yeah. But also that they don't like directly determine whether or not you get a return offer. That's more of a HR and company thing. So
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Joseph. I was going to say something, right, about like I think one common thing that you guys said was like feedback. Okay, you should ask more question. I think for Angel it was like the reverse, right? So it's really like it's most of those things are contextual, like, but I know like in this kind of like the African system, it's more like most times the situations is like when people give you feedback, they probably like don't structure it well, and it feels like a personal attack, but like yeah, so having that sense of like understanding, like people are not attacking you, right? Like even if it comes across like an attack, right, just know that like they have nothing to gain if you don't get the like if you don't do well. Like they are just trying to make you do it. Like approach it in like receive the feedback in good faith and deploy that to basically harness like advantage for yourself. Like don't see it like, oh, maybe this person doesn't like me because they said this, my manager doesn't really feel me because they said this. Just use those feedback to like build like massive strength, and most of the feedback are usually iterative, just like our speakers have said. I've said it.
Yeah. So thank you very much for that. I think our time is fast spent, so we will move to Q&A. But before that, I just want to ask everyone, just 1 minute or 30 seconds if you can. What is one final advice you have for everyone applying? What is one, if you were opportunity to give only one advice, what is that advice that you give to anyone applying? I'd like Joseph to go first.
I'd say do mock interviews and prepare well for your interviews, because like you can't really control, to a large extent, you can't control like which opportunities you get, but just make sure you can maximize every opportunity you get. So yeah, prepare well for interviews.
Great, thank you very much. And Shadi, what's one final advice you'd give?
Yeah, I'd like to let you know that please, like the first step to getting opportunities like this is knowing about the opportunities. So congratulations. Let's start from there. But just try as much as possible to put your foot forward and like apply make as many applications as possible. It's like a game of numbers sometimes. Like you don't know which opportunities would eventually click. You might get rejections initially, and I also got those rejections. But like, just keep applying, keep putting your best foot forward, as many applications as possible, and try to get people to help you. Like people are like the best resource you can ever have. Like people are like 110 over 10. Always recommend reach out to people.
Great, thank you. And Angel?
For me, it would be to do your research on like whatever opportunity you're applying for. Try to understand like everything you're supposed to know and do. Reach out to lots of people. Like you can never have too much feedback, and information is key. And you get that information from people. So reach out to as many people. LinkedIn is the best resource. Reach out to as many people as people that did the internship that you're applying for. And same thing is a game of numbers. Don't just apply to one internship. There are other firms that do the same summer internship thing. And if you are a Christian, please pray. You could do everything right, and then something somewhere would just be funny. So just pray that everything works out in your favor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Pray, pray, pray. That was also very important. Put your best foot forward and apply to a lot of opportunity. So thank you very much. I will pass over to James now to take the Q&A, and we can call it a day.
Yes, so I'm going to prioritize our questions in the Q&A box. Then if we have more time, right, please put your question in the Q&A. It helps us kind of like manage the questions. So I see two questions, one from Daniel Iyere. So you can put it anonymously. That's the beauty of the Q&A, and you can put your name, right? So if you put it anonymously, we're still going to call it as much as we have time. So this question is saying that if you were starting your journey again, what is one skill you would focus on? I think this could go around the three of you guys. What is one skill you focus on? Maybe from Shade. If you're starting it over again, what is one thing you focus on? One skill rather. Yeah.
If I was starting all over again, like my tech journey or like your application process.
I think let's go for the application process, to be fair. Yeah.
My one would be to like utilize people. Like I said, I'm always emphasizing on this because like I would never have gotten any of the opportunities I've gotten if I didn't have people or if I didn't utilize people. You don't need to know them. Let me tell you, I just text people on LinkedIn and people are kind enough to answer. And if somebody does not answer, you please move to the next person. Just make sure you try as much as possible to run your applications through people, ask them questions. People have like inside tips. There are certain things you don't know if you can interact with people. And like there's this inside scoop that will get to like all of the good stuff. So like talk to people, interact with people, it increases your network, you get to learn more, know more opportunities. I will get to learn more about more opportunities from people, and you get like just helps you generally. Another thing is to be consistent. Like to be honest, like when I was applying to Goldman Sachs, I had already given up. Like Goldman Sachs was like the last thing I applied to. At this point, I had interviewed with all of the companies I wanted to interview with, gotten all of the rejections, and I was like, see, I'm not doing it again. Then my friend was like, I didn't see you do Goldman Sachs Akarank, and I was like, yes, because I'm not applying to Goldman Sachs. And the person just said, apply now. So I just did it, and somehow it worked out. So like, don't give up, be consistent. You get a lot of no's, but that one yes is basically going to change your life. So please, it is worth it. So keep going, be consistent, keep pushing. And then lastly is that make use of the resources you have. Like I know in Nigeria we don't, like it's very difficult. Like there's light issues, there's network issues. So like for example, for me, I kind of like printed out a particular book, like a particular book I was using to study for my interviews because I know that if there's no light, I don't want to say, oh, my laptop is off, my phone is off, I can't study. Like, just try to be resourceful. Try to make sure that you don't make excuses for yourself for not doing the right thing. Just like travel. It's not easy for us here in Nigeria, but try as much as possible. It's going to be worth it at the end of the day. Promise you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Shade. Like this is like another level. Martin's like print out materials to study. Interview. This is like I haven't had this before, right? So this is crazy. We asked for one. Shade gave us three. I think that is super impressive. Consistency, be resourceful, and leverage people. Thank you very much, Joseph. Maybe just one. Yeah, I know, Joseph, you have like a lot of stuff for us. Just one. If you were to start again this whole application process, what is one skill that you are going to like really like focus on?
Yeah, I think it's the yeah, leveraging my network on LinkedIn, I think, is probably the one that I'd focus on, because not just first of all, you could reach out to recruiters, but you could also reach out to like maybe alumni from your university that work at those companies to get referrals and stuff. So yeah, leverage your network on LinkedIn.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, that was up and shot and yeah, like good. So Angel.
Well, it's the same thing, really.
Sorry, Angel. You and Shade don't want to show us your face. People want to attach like a face to like the person. If it's comfortable for you guys, maybe before the call ends. Yeah. Yeah, but
There's
go
some
ahead.
Sorry, there's something with my settings. I can't turn on my camera,
Oh, wow.
but
Wow.
it's the same thing. The people that are in your network as you're doing the interviews really have a big part to play. The person that really guided me through my whole application process was very thorough. She was making a lot of corrections to my CV, to my presentation, everything. So like, you really need, and I didn't know her from anywhere. It was just when I applied, I sent her a connection request, she accepted, and we started talking. And we moved to WhatsApp, and she was my reviewer for the whole process. So, and then if you mean in terms of technical skill, I think pick one programming language, have the experience, get the certificate and everything. In my case, I had to learn everything I was going to work with. So if you mean in terms of a technical skill, just pick something. It'll be easy for you to pivot because it's a learning process. The whole thing is a learning process. Yeah,
Cool.
that's it for me.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah. So like focus on one thing, understand the underlying concept. Like you can always like learn new stuff. I think Joseph also mentioned something like picking up Rust and like being able to use it to do like a project. I think from last year, one of the speaker, he had like a project in Scala and was able to navigate his path and he has never written Scala before. Right. So it's just all about understanding the concept of programming and basically maximizing it. I don't know, leveraging people, leveraging networking, leveraging resource. So like I think these are really good advice. So one from Anonymous. Hello, thanks for the session. I'm doing a BSc in plant biology. However, I'm interested in computers. I'm interested in computers, sounds like I'm interested in computers and programming. How realistic is it to pivot to the tech space, specifically software engineering? And how competitive will I be in tech internship application, even with my life science? I think I wouldn't let Joseph answer this because he has like a computer science background. But like I think Shadi mentioned like she's studying electrical engineering. In some places, I think electrical engineering also has like some relation with electrical and computer engineering. So like maybe Angel, if you can basically like maybe what's your course and like how were you able to transition properly so that we don't spend too much time on this, and maybe from your experience what advice would you give to this kind of person?
Okay, my course is not very different from Shadi's course. I'm studying electronic engineering at the University of Nigeria in Nsukka, but I learned how to code on my own. So you just need to find what you're interested in. Let's say it's cybersecurity. Okay, pick that, learn all the technicality involved with it, and then try to build projects, because projects are like evidence that you know what you're talking about. I don't think your background really matters in this case, so don't let it deter you. Try to build projects and then try to find like internships or like experience, even if it's unpaid or it's volunteer in the meantime, just to like kind of build up your CV. So you could do that, but don't let your background like stop you from trying to apply. Yes, the tech space is competitive and it's a bit saturated, but there are opportunities for everyone, so you'll be fine.
Yeah, cool. As you were saying, like I remember one of Lai's saying, "Don't let your background put your back to the ground." The Lai once said, "Don't let your background put your back to the ground." Yeah. So like build projects, look for some sort of like internship. I don't know, like there's a whole lot of like things about don't do unpaid internship, but like you have like a lot of steps to take, right? Given your background. So you might want to like look for volunteering opportunity. And sweet side story was like last year, I think one of the person was like the person that actually built like ASN website, like also like did an internship. And I think the project they presented was literally like ASN, right? And you never know, right? This is me doing cheap advertisement for you to reach out to me to tell me you want to volunteer and build something for us. Yeah, but like yeah, don't mind me. But like, yeah, but like people like reach out to people. You can see a non-profit organization, reach out to them. Would you guys like a website for me to do this, that for you and all those kind of stuff? And you could literally just do it on your time and you tell them you're going to pay for hosting and all this kind of stuff. And you know what you want to achieve, right? You can reach out to a small business in your school. Can I help you automate your process of ticketing and all this kind of stuff? And you can really do something really interesting with that. So those are some interesting things. So the next question is yeah. So I think this person is asking, as a student who is just I don't know, as a student who is just starting to build projects in Python and data science, how can I make those projects stand out on a resume for internships? Joseph, do you want to take this?
Okay, yeah. So
And
I'd say data.
can you also add this referral from employees play a part in the application process?
mm, okay, yeah. So I'll start with the first one. Data science is a very good field because it's very easy to find unique problems. So anything that you do, like it's easy to find like a project you can actually build that no one has necessarily done before. Like you could just pick some niche data sets, right? And like analyze that, right? So yeah, just generally doing something that solves an actual problem, even if it's not a big problem, is always a plus. In fact, I think there are two kinds of projects on your resume. There are projects that solve a problem that have impact and projects that are very technical, right? So, I mean, there's a limit. Obviously, the expectations are lower for interns, but you should try to like do one of the two. And I think for data science in particular, you should lean towards something that has impact or solves a problem, right? Again, need not be a very big problem because except you're inventing some new algorithm, it's not likely to fall into the other category, right? Um, and it could also like fall more into software engineering because even if you did say like implement some white paper or something like that kind of falls more into software engineering. So yeah,
I added a
just like try to solve a real problem. Yeah.
Yes, Martins.
yes.
Answers.
Sorry. Joseph, are you done? Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, I was even about to say, like, I think you're probably in the best position to, a better position to answer this anyway. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I also I put something in the chat box. I said that I think about the 3% rule. This I can't remember his name, but there was someone that spoke about it, and it's not always like when people think about standing out, creating something unique. sometimes it's not about rebuilding everything from scratch. You could take an existing solution and make a 3% optimization. What's one little tweak you can make? And people think that little tweaks don't matter, but that's the problem because, for example, you could change a button on a app and say, and you can make a case that this button can improve user experience. That's it. Something as simple as that. I'll tell you, for me in my role, improvement is not usually 30% actually for us. If we get, I won't speak about the specific details, but if we get a 3% improvement in something we're working on now, our lives would be considerably and really much more better. So think about what are the simple things. Like, okay, people are talking about implementing a dashboard that uses, people use Titanic data, for example, and they do a dashboard that analyze Titanic survivors. And you pick another data set and do analysis. What is one thing? Can you add maybe an LLM that people would ask questions and you've just customized it? Just a tiny thing that sort of improves on something existing. It doesn't have to be entirely new. So that's something that is worth thinking about.
Yeah, I also think that answers like Abdullah or Kwadeji question about like the project. I think that also like does justice to it. But like on referral, do you have any thoughts on that, Joseph?
Okay, so I'll start by saying like if you can get a referral, please do get any referral you can. For Meta, it did not help because for interns and for new grads, I don't think they do referrals. So, but I did get another interview with Bloomberg, and that was purely based off a referral. In fact, I don't think they even have a public application link. So yeah, referrals are definitely play a big part. If you can get a referral, please do.
Okay, cool. Cool. Yeah, thank you very much. I think on the data science bit, right? Like the significance of like open source projects, right, is really good also. Like you could talk to like few people, you guys could actually build something really interesting and put it out there, open it up for people to contribute. Look for people that are building something like an open source project. Look for like just like Martins was saying, like something really simple that you could contribute and you could make a case for, and yeah, it will make you look good and all that. So I think another question here, I might actually like give this to Shade to make an attempt to answer. Good day everyone from Solomon Nigeria. For many of us, this internship may be our first real exposure to the field. How were you able to blend into your role so quickly? I don't know if they did, despite having limited prior experience, and what helps you fit in seamlessly when you resume the role?
Okay, so let me clarify. I had a lot of experience before I
Well,
joined Goldman Sachs. However, like I know people joined with very little experience, and like I said, your employers are not looking for like the most technically skilled person. They want somebody who is able to learn quickly, who is willing to learn, and who is hardworking, who is open-minded. So usually, if you don't have a lot of experiences, you don't have a lot of past experience, your project would reflect that. To give you a project that they believe you can actually do. Let's start from there. And then it is left for you to try as much as possible to learn as quickly as possible. Ask a lot of questions, like ask your team, ask people from outside your team. And also, like I would usually advise that you have like somebody outside your team who you can ask questions to, that because like when they are doing your review, like it is from a point of view of your team, and they are the ones for Goldman Sachs. It is your team plays a very vital role in determining if you get the offer or not. So you don't want to seem very stupid. So you kind of ask your team some questions. You ask the other person outside your team other questions, so that like you have like this, oh, the person knows, like they're able to ask questions, and they also are able to achieve some things themselves. So just try as much as possible to use the resources around you. Like I said, they won't give you something that is greater than your your skills or your experience or your knowledge. People actually come into GS with absolutely no coding skills. I spoke to a couple of people like that had not even written a line of code before they came to Goldman Sachs, and they were able to like learn. They will give you enough resources. You have like your teammates, you have other interns, you have the internet, and you have AI. So that's a lot of resources to help you like see your project through to completion, or at least to succeed, or at least to impress your team. That's all I can say.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much. Yeah, I think that's really good. Yeah, the next question by Anonymous. So, please, my question is for Miss Angel. I have received an offer to meet with a to meet with senior managers of BOFA. Okay, okay, sounds really interesting. So, I've received an offer to meet with senior managers of BOFA at upcoming top talent roundtable in Ghana due to my performance at the BOFA Amplify Me simulation exercise. Please, what should I expect? And is there any advice for me? Thank you. Angel.
Okay. I'm trying to understand the question because I'm trying to really understand where he's coming from, but my understanding is that you are going to be meeting with recruiters from BOFA. So I think there is just to try and create some kind of personal connection. So aside from showing your technical ability and trying to put your best foot forward and say, oh, I know my stuff, I know this, I know that, because that's important to show that you know what you're doing. Also try to create a personal connection with them. So ask them personal questions. Oh, how long have you been at the bank? Or what do you do? When they talk about what they do, say, oh, what's the most challenging thing you've worked on? Do you switch roles? Where last did you work? Just try and kind of build a relationship with them so that they remember you. So it's not just the same thing over and over again that they meet with other people. Then also connect to them on LinkedIn. Even after that meeting in Ghana, also try to keep the connection line open so that, the applications are open now. And probably, I think it would lead to some kind of referral or the internship and stuff like that. All in all, good luck. I wish you the best. Try to be yourself during that meeting.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much, Angel. I think like the Amplify Me thing is like an investment banking like simulation, if I'm not mistaken, or some sort of like pre-learning. So that question might really fit into tomorrow. You want to definitely be in tomorrow's session to get more clarity on that. But like maybe a tip is just like what you did that made you stand out on that simulation. You probably want to look at it really well and be ready to answer like some chit chat question on those so that you don't come across as a fraud to them when they finally meet you in person, right? And yeah, just trust God that you find favor on that. Yeah, all the best. I think I'll leave this for Joseph. Any advice to someone just starting out computer science? Maybe like 1 minute or something, like an advice for them. Because I know you're studying computer science.
Yeah, I'll just say like learn your fundamentals well, and that's both the programming. You might not necessarily be taught programming well in your university, so in fact you won't be taught anything very well in your university. So just like find ways of learning it on your own. And there's a tendency, especially in Nigeria, for developers to get caught up in like the fancy tech, like learn all the new tools and all that, right? And yes, that's important because you have to build projects, right? So build projects that actually work, right, with the modern tools and everything. But don't neglect understanding the fundamentals, which is both your computer science fundamentals, right? And also try to understand the reasoning behind why these tools are used, right? So why these tools are even important in the first place. And yeah, okay, why this is important is I think it's even related to the other question, like how do you if you have limited experience, because I mean, yes, sure, we have experience, but we're still students. There's no one that has like 3 years of full-time experience here, right? And even if you did, you would probably like if you had weak fundamentals, you would definitely still struggle in one of these companies, right? Because they don't use like the same tools necessarily. Like we don't use Git, we don't use Kubernetes, we don't
Yeah.
use Docker, we don't use anything that you know, right? But they work in similar ways. The idea is behind like we have our own alternatives to them, right? And the reason why we're using our alternative is the same as the reason why people use Kubernetes, right? And the architectures differ slightly, right? But you don't necessarily need to, like, if you have good fundamentals, then it will be very easy for you to like learn how the new thing is working, right? And like easily build on top of that.
Hmm.
So like basically have good fundamentals. They expect you to not know a lot of things, but you should be able to learn quickly. And the only way you can learn quickly is if your fundamentals are sound. So
Yeah, thank you very much, Joseph. I think that was really exhaustive. Yes, I think these last two questions, I think we've somehow like touched a little bit on them. I'm starting out AI ML. I have worries that I might not be, it might be too late for me to build skills I need for application. How long does it take to build the skills? I think the other person was also, the last person is also asking, they are always advised to focus on one side, but I want to know what your take is on this issue because I really want to equip myself with software engineering skills, but I want to master another language as well. But it's quite hard managing school and time, right? So I don't know if you like I don't know if Shadi wants to opine on this. Basically, like I know you guys might not be into like AI ML, but like maybe just like tips on how to balance stuff. And in terms of when somebody is starting out on a new track, how can like how long might be like a really like complex question. How should they navigate this particular like process, right, in a way that it simplifies their process of learning and at the same time help them to really maximize this opportunity whilst they're learning.
Um, okay, so for the AI ML person, um, I'll first say your skills are now very relevant in the industry. Let's start from there. So if you are looking to apply to, I need to be sure if you want to apply to software engineering roles and you think because you only have AI ML skills, you are not a good fit. If that is your question, I want to let you know that if you're able to write code, you can learn.
Yeah.
Just don't self-reject, apply. Don't self-reject, apply. However, if you still want to do AI ML, like I said, look out for opportunities in AI ML or an intersection of or whatever area that kind of uses AI ML. There are roles that are like or like not consulting, there's a particular word they use for that. Basically just look for roles that has like an intersection of what you do and probably other things or just pure AI ML. Or if you like to do software engineering, I can tell you for sure that as an AI engineer you are qualified to a large extent. You kind of like learn the basics as has learned, and you can also like you can utilize that in like in your internships in full-time roles. Personally, for me, my project, I had to like re-implement my entire project in using AI, and so like this just gives you like an overview of how relevant AI ML has become in the industry. So you don't need to have 10 years of experience, 100 years of experience before you apply. I know people that have like less than 1 year of experience and they've got opportunities like this.
Yeah.
So don't
Okay, cool.
self-reject.
Yeah, thank you
And
very
then
much.
if you're starting out in, okay, that's pretty
Yeah,
much it.
go
I
ahead.
think that applies to the other person.
Yeah, I
Person
thought
saying,
you
oh, I'm starting out. Best advice is as you're learning, be building so that when it gets to the point where you want to apply, you have something to show. To
mm,
be honest, if you have at least one thing to show that is good, I feel like you're ready to apply. You don't need to have 10 years of experience, like I said again. You built it in 3 months. I beg your pardon, you could basically get this opportunity. You could get it if you have what they are looking for, or if you get I don't want to use the word lucky, but like you could get it as long as you have the skills, as long as you've been able to build something with the skills you've learned, you are basically qualified. Does not, even if it's 3 days, but 3 days is too little, but you get the gist, like don't self-reject.
Okay, cool. Yeah, thank you very much. Maybe like a little bit of like tip is just like build the basics, right? Guys, I know like AI ML is like a buzzword and like a lot of people are doing LLM, like building their own like language model and all these kind of interesting things. Like AI ML has been it's been here forever. Like started doing tech like I don't know 2019-ish. I started out, I joined a DSN hackathon and I was building models and I never even really understood what I was building, right? And like just start and I had to like roll down, understand okay, fundamentals of programming, like understand the basics, like and that really would help you a lot, right? And the intersection of software engineering and a couple of this stuff, like if you don't understand software engineering principles, you are not going to be like a good engineer. Maybe you want to go production side, or maybe you want to go like core AI side, or like data side, or like whatever it is you want to do, right? So just understand the basics, build as you are learning, right? And like like an example was like, I don't know, I think I've shared this with Martins before. At some point, I was building like some. So there's this like quantum experiments that generate like random number, and I literally just built an API on that quantum experiment in Australian National Open University, and like it was interesting, it was fun, and I was just having fun with it. And literally, I was using like the random number generated to do simulation in another like data science project, like. And I spoke to somebody about it. The person really find it interesting. It wasn't anything too gigantic, right? Just building an API on a real quantum experiment that is happening that generates quantum random numbers. Like the person was just like, yeah, that's really unique compared to other people. It's really basic. Then you understand what I'm saying? But the person really found it interesting. You understand what I'm saying? It could be really simple. The person saw an understanding of okay, this person know how to like make API requests and all this kind of stuff. That fundamental stuff could be like a big deal for somebody else because they just saw like you had a very unique perspective and like you understand what I'm saying. So just understand the basics, then build on top of that, basically. Yeah. Yeah, Martins.
Yeah, I think I really like the advice. Be the basics. The basics are always important because they help you go the long way. In this age of information, you can always learn, right? Mindset matters a lot. If you believe you can and if you believe you can't, you are either way you are right. So you must first of all believe that you can, and then you can then start working on it. Feels like a play on words, but it's true. If you don't believe in it, no matter how long you spend on it, you would not understand it. So very, very, very important that you believe in yourself, don't self-reject, and apply for the opportunities. And yes, thank you very much. I want to say very, very, very big thank you to our speakers. It's 2 hours of your time on Saturday, a day where people rest and get on doing other things. But thank you for spending some of that time here with us. Thank you for sharing this insight. Thank you for sharing the ideas. You know, Thank you for being a source of motivation to others because things like this, we hear stories about people that were in sessions like this. I'm like, yeah, that session really spurred me to apply for this opportunity. I say very, very, very big thank you to everyone on the team at ASN for putting and stringing such an amazing event together. It's very, very helpful. It's like there's this thing that Tunde Onakoya says, you can do great things from small places, right? So from, from putting together a team to work on this, we can begin to impact the ecosystem, impact the continent, impact the globe, one step at a time, right? So pay attention, check our website, right? Check our website. There's a lot of other programs that we also organize. Follow us on social media, keep your eyes peeled, share with your friends, don't keep it to yourself. There's a lot of opportunities and a lot of things that we do have in store. So yeah, please, everyone, ensure that you also follow us on social media. Yes, thank you very much also to James. Also, it was nice, doing this with you once again, just chatting and speaking to people. And yes, finally, thank you to everyone, for also coming to learn. Which is learning is something that must be part of everyone, continuous development. And I know some people here have even, they've been through interviews before. Some people also trying to get other opportunities. And some people absolutely have not, applied. So we thank everyone across board for coming today. So yes, this is where we draw the curtain for today. We do have, that's why I said you should follow the social media. We do have another session tomorrow for another stream. So pay attention to that also on the social media. So thank you very much, everyone, and do have a lovely, lovely evening. Bye.
Bye, everyone.